to another session. Hope you've had a great week wherever you are. So in today's session, I'm going to be taking you through some great grey ISO opportunities. We don't always have the opportunity to deal with a regrowth at the stage and length that we have at the moment that we've currently got the opportunity to deal with. And so this also means that for grey coverage, which is, let's face it, a lot of what we do in the salon, a really good option for us to look at perhaps how we might be able to do things a little bit better and a little bit differently. Let me take you through that. So, what you're going to be dealing with is a larger than usual regrowth. So here in Australia, we've got clients that are coming back into the salon and we're dealing with regrowths that are 8, 9, 10 weeks long. And if you're going back to salon in, you're still in lockdown, the regrowth scenarios that you're going to be dealing with are actually going to be a whole lot longer than that as well. So this gives us the opportunity to look at that and go back and analyse really properly what you've actually got and what you're dealing with. Because sometimes when it comes to colouring grey, we can get a little bit into the same again scenarios where we've done an analysis maybe a year or two ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and the client gets into that same again scenario. With having a regrowth of more length, we can actually really look at exactly what's going on and analyse the hair so we can make sure we're using the formula that's most appropriate, and we might decide to change it up. So is the percentage of grey when we analyse the hair actually higher than what it was a year or two ago, or it might actually be lower than what we think it is, and therefore we might want to adjust our formula to take into consideration the percentage of grey is lower. The grey may be more resistant than what we remember it being or what we first analysed it to be, so we need to take that into consideration as well. And it also gives us the opportunity to look at a colour change perhaps, because we've got some fadage more so than usual on the mid-lengths and ends because of the time it's been since colouring. So it gives us the opportunity to, if the client's been wanting to go a little bit lighter, we can actually work with that and we can maybe make the mid-lengths and ends lighter. If you've got a client that is looking to grow out their grey, we've seen clients who are deciding to embrace their grey and grow out their grey. If they've got a longer regrowth, then we can maybe work with them on that and actually head towards that end goal. But at the same time, I'm going to show you some ways that you can keep that client even with their grey as a colour client, because we don't want clients to kind of decide just to embrace their grey and not have any colour service in the salon at all, because we can definitely offer them services that will be beneficial for enhancing their natural grey. We can also look at the opportunity to personalise and offer bespoke colouring services, because we know that throughout this period we have had a lot of home colour, and so we want to make sure that that client, even if it's a grey coverage and a regrowth application, we're offering them more than just simply doing their regrowth. We're personalising the formula, and we're also maybe putting in a bit of face framing for them as well to really personalise the colour. When it comes to analysing the grey, looks can be a little bit deceiving, and we can make assumptions. So as far as analysing goes, a really great way to look at the hair and analyse the hair correctly is to look at, is there more grey hair than natural? And if that's the case, then I will be categorising that client in my up to 25% grey coverage category. If the client has half natural, half grey approximately, as scattered throughout their natural distribution, then I'm going to be looking at that being in my 25 to 50% category. And if I've got more grey hair than natural, then I'm going to be classifying that as my 50 to 100% category. Once I've got that analysed, I then can go to my chart and I know exactly how much of my base shade and how much of my target colour I need to mix together to make sure I get the exact formula that's going to be appropriate for the amount of grey I'm dealing with. If I add too much of my natural in here, I'm going to lose my target colour. If I don't add enough of my natural in here, then I'm going to lose my coverage ability on that grey hair. So making sure that we've analysed the hair correctly is really important to fitting into working with the appropriate amount of natural compared to my target shade. The other thing that with the grey coverage and the Muck colour range, with Muck Hybrid Colour we have our 2 natural series, our warm natural series and our cool natural series. Both of these give 100% coverage on grey hair. Depending on the target shade you're choosing, will completely depend on which of those you'll choose to complement your coverage and your target shade. So let's have a look at a couple of different options in these scenarios that I've done as far as grey coverage goes. So let's start with Jo. Jo, who works at Muck. Jo looks after our education bookings and does an amazing job with that, and helps us out with a lot of other things as well. Jo was a bit beside herself because her regrowth was really long and she was never usually has it at that length. So Jo was very, very good. Jo had been box colouring until she came to work at Muck. And so we've been gradually, over the long term, lightening Jo from a level 4 box colour. And so it's actually been a really good opportunity to do Jo's colour and to actually really kind of continue that journey and working on removing some of that artificial colour. And the way that I've done that has been through using 000 Lift Intensifier over a period of months, and so this is the stage that we're at now. We have a regrowth of a 5.1, and Jo had, as many people do, when it comes to analysing grey, grey is not a nice even scattering, evenly distributed throughout the regrowth all the way over the head. What we mostly have are scenarios like Jo where we've got 70% grey at the front and we've got 30% grey at the back. So we can do one of two things here when it comes to formulating as far as those two different scenarios go. If we wanted to be absolutely technically pedantic, we could actually do two different formulas, one that takes into consideration the percentage of grey at the front and another that takes into consideration the percentage of grey at the back. Now the thing is, when the client leaves the salon, how often are they going to be looking at the back of their head? And I would say probably not ever until they see it in the back mirror again next time they come into the salon. So for the majority of clients, it's all about what's going on here and what they can actually see. So formulation wise, it's actually probably best to formulate for the front and the majority of the grey. So that way, when Jo looks at her hair, she's got coverage and those greys are gone. Because let's face it, when people are coming in to have their hair coloured and grey is their issue, they want their greys gone. So that's what we're formulating for, the 70% grey that she's got at the front. The texture of Jo's hair is fine. The density is, she's got a lot of hair, so even though it's fine, there's lots and lots of it. The porosity is good because we've been sort of managing that over the long term. Her hair is straight. The length of her hair is 30 centimetres or 12 inches in the longest part, which of her concave bob that she has. So, and we've got existing colour through her mid-lengths and ends that are matching up to a 753. So, as I said, over the long term we've been working on getting her a little bit lighter and lifting and shifting some of that existing pigment from her level 4, which was quite deep and quite dark. So what I did for Jo was I really want Jo to have a personalised colour that's exactly right for her. So I did some face framing on Jo, and with this I used 5 grams of my High Lift and Deposit Violet and 10 grams of my High Lift and Deposit Red, and I used 22 grams of my 9% 30 Vol with that, so my 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio. I put them around her hairline, and her regrowth, I mixed up 30 grams of 770, my Warm Natural. I used 10 grams of my 7762, 10 grams of my 7766, and 10 grams of 5522, because I wanted to really bespoke and customise that colour for Jo. And I used that in a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio, so a standard mix with my 20 volt. Because the greys aren't resistant, I don't need to use a power mix. I'm using a standard mix here. For the mid-lengths and ends, as soon as I'd applied my regrowth, I went straight through my mid-lengths and ends because I'm changing reflect, and I have done that by using 10 grams of 7762, 10 grams of 7766, 10 grams of 5522, and I've added 20 grams of 000 Lift Intensifier in there as well, because what I want to do is I want to get that shift and really make sure I'm getting the pop of those pigments, and I'm really getting that ultimate fashion colour on Jo's hair. And I've used that in a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio with 20 volt, and processing time for 45 minutes. So here's the end result. You can see that we've got some great vibrancy. Jo was beside herself happy with the colour, which is great, and feeling so much better. Next we have Amanda. Now Amanda is in a scenario where she is looking to have less maintenance as far as her colour goes, and she isn't in a situation where she's able to meet a commitment of a 6-week grey coverage. Amanda is 100% grey, and she has got quite a large regrowth, and the mid-lengths and ends, there's some old colour on, and that old colour measured up to a 1073. Amanda's texture is medium, her density is normal, she has slightly porous ends, her hair is wavy, and the length is 43 centimetres or 17 inches. Now this is a scenario where we want to make sure that we don't lose Amanda as an in-salon client, but it might be that she just needs to space out her colouring. So in the consultation, I've explained to Amanda that while she doesn't want the commitment of coverage or a lot of definition as far as an existing colour and a regrowth, that when it comes to her grey hair, there are some really beautiful options as far as colouring go that are she can do less regularly, that are going to actually benefit her hair and have her hair feel in better condition than it was in beforehand, because grey hair can be quite coarse and unruly and unmanageable. So I can actually offer her a beautiful service that we get her to that point of having a gloss service on her grey coverage that's going to be like having a treatment at the same time as glossing her grey hair. So to get her to that point, we've gone through and we've actually done some foils. So I've used some Ultra Lift Bleach, clay, and Hybrid Intense Lotion. I'm a big fan of low and slow, and using the low developers to really ultimately look after the condition and integrity of the hair. And then once I've gone through and I've taken that all the way through from roots to ends, even over the grey, because I want to just work on that cuticle, because a grey cuticle on grey hair can be a bit more tightly packed, so I want to make sure I'm just getting that slight opening of the cuticle. And then I've put a toner all the way through, and the toner I've used is 10 grams of 10-1, 10 grams of 10-0, 60 grams of my hybrid lotion, so I've used that in a controlled toning manner, and then I've added in my hybrid equalizer as well. So what I've created here is a gloss toner to go over the top. You put that on for 20 minutes, and so I've got this beautiful grey result that Amanda is after, and she's also got that amazing shine and condition on her hair. So now Amanda can come back in and on an ongoing basis, her next service, I can do a prepare shampoo for her to again open the cuticle slightly, and then I can do my gloss toner over the top. So my recommendation to Amanda is that she has that every 6 to 8 weeks, every 2 months, every 3 months, totally dependent on her and the amount that she wants to commit to. But I'm not losing her as a colour client because I've explained the benefits of keeping her grey sparkling, the softness and manageability that I'm offering her. So rather than her just saying, I've decided to grow my hair out and I'm not having colour anymore, I've offered her the option to grow her grey out, but still keep her grey alive and sparkling and clean and neutralised without any oxidising or yellowing, and she's getting that amazing gloss and shine factor to her hair as well. Alright, so when it comes to grey coverage, sometimes we do get very much same again. So don't forget that you do have options when it comes to grey coverage. Let's have a look at a couple of different scenarios and in different ways that I've used 6O. So I've used 6O in all of these examples. And in the first example, I've mixed up 6O in a standard mix, which is our 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio. So I mixed 4 grams of 6O, 6 grams of 6% 20-vol, and processed that for 45 minutes. If I had a scenario where I needed a little bit more pigment added, where I just wanted a little bit more coverage, I can do that by using my plus mix, and I can still mix that in my 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio. But this is where instead of just using my 6O, my Cool Natural, I mix my 6O and my 660, so my Cool Natural and my Warm Natural together, and those pigments, the blue-violet pigments and the orange-yellow pigments together, give me even more saturation on that hair that is missing the melanin that grey hair is. So by mixing half of my Cool Natural and half of my Warm Natural, still in a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio, it gives me that even better coverage option. Then I can also move up one step from there if I've got really coarse resistant hair, and I can use what we call our power mix, which is mixing our in a 1 to 1 mixing ratio. Now, not everyone needs a power mix. Sometimes we kind of have this default again where we use our most hardcore and our most sort of go-getter as far as coverage goes, but we don't need to. This is where analysing the hair really comes into its own. A power mix is only needed where we've got really coarse resistant grey hair, because with MUC colour you actually have those micropigments that penetrate into the hair really effectively and give us amazing grey coverage. So for coarse hair, where you need it, we can mix up our power mix, and we can still mix our Cool and Warm Natural together to give us the ultimate in grey coverage. But your clients, most clients while they're colouring their hair want coverage on grey, they may want a blend. It may be that they just want to blend their grey and they don't want the demarcation that comes with developing the pigment as a permanent pigment. So you could use Hybrid Intense Lotion like I have in this scenario here, and I've mixed that in a 1 to 2 mixing ratio, so 6O, 4 grams of 6O, 8 grams of Hybrid Intense Lotion, and I've put that on and for 20 minutes I've developed it, and I've got a great blend. I've got really good saturation of colour again because of the pigments, those micro pigments that are individually developing in the hair. And what this will do is over a period of shampoos, I'll just lose a little bit more pigment, so the regrowth isn't such a demarcation when the grey grows again. So that could be a really nice option if someone's looking for more of a blended result on their grey hair. The other thing I've got here is a gloss, where I've again used my gloss option to just gloss the grey hair and work with the grey hair. So I've used here 2 grams of 6O, 2 grams of 6-1 because I might want to add a little bit more of the ash pigment in if I'm working with grey hair. And I've mixed that in a 1:3 mixing ratio with my hybrid lotion. And I've also added my equalizer in as well to give me that beautiful gloss and sheen. And again, I'm gonna have a very, very little demarcation next time the client comes back in with my gloss option. And then we've also got, don't forget about your Interblend Man. So we've got our Interblend Man options. So here I've mixed my 2 grams of 6O, 2 grams of 611, and mixed in a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio with my Interblend Man Developer, 5 minutes, and I've got that great blended result for grey hair. So here's an example to show you Interblend Man, which is absolutely amazing for giving us that blended result on grey hair for our male clients, but you don't actually have to use Interblend Man only on your male clients. Of course, you can use it on all of your clients in the salon. So these are just some options just to give you some other ideas as to how you can go about creating your best results for grey coverage in your salon and for your clients. So don't forget to do your analysis, because just like diesel, there might be more grey than what you think.